Alright, we're back for the next installment of replacing the glass on this MacBook. The next step is to go ahead and put some adhesive onto this frame here. So we have a couple of pieces here, this little metal piece for the camera lens. We want to go ahead and make sure that it fits back in snugly to the correct spot. We're going to be using some of this 3M double-sided tape. This tape's a little bit wider, it's a good 5mm tape around the bigger sides of the frame, and then we'll use some smaller tape when we get to the top portion. Just a good old trusty pair of scissors to help you cut this tape up. And we'll go ahead and get started on taping this display off. Just making nice big lengths down the side of the display here. Making sure that we put it on, but we don't necessarily want to cover up any portion of the LCD. Keep all of your adhesive onto the frame of the display. One tricky part is making sure the corners are nice and put in correctly. We don't want the display to pop up on the corners at all. And if you do this correctly, normally you can layer in two thick pieces of adhesive here down the sides. You want to get as much stick on here as possible. The goal is to not have to replace the glass anytime in the future. You want to make sure it adheses on nice and snug onto the new tape we're putting on here. You can use a razor blade or an X-Acto knife to kind of cut correctly into the corners if you want to. Make sure that it's nice and round to make sure you match the display frame. So let's use this. Make sure that you don't cut any cables underneath though. We don't want to cut the cable to that webcam. So make sure that you have a nice steady hand as you do it. Making sure that no actual tape overlays on top of the side of the frame. You want to make sure that it is all contained within the centered portion of the device. Start on the next side and do the same thing. Take a big nice length of tape, run it all the way down top to bottom of the device. Sorry for the autofocus, keeps going in and out as I keep moving pieces in front of it. Make sure this adheres down nice. Put this next strip on. Now if you didn't do it exactly perfect, you could use some 2mm tape in here as well, and that's completely fine. The goal is just to make sure that you get as much sticky adhesive surface as possible on here. I kind of messed this one up. You can see that the adhesive kind of rippled. We definitely don't want any ripples in the tape that'll make the glass stand off when we put it in. So we're going to go ahead and just remove this from the frame and start anew. Make sure that we take our time with this. Lay this in here nice and tight. We don't want it to overlap either. That'll give a ripple or a ledge in the tape as well. And down here, it looks like I didn't lay this front piece very straight, unfortunately. So I might just use a thinner piece of 2 or 3mm adhesive tape down this next side. Here's the thinner tape in width. Go ahead and just slide this down. making sure that it's got a good grip onto the frame of the MacBook. And we'll use our razor tool to go ahead and cut this in as well. Make sure that it hits the nice rounded portion of the frame. Make sure that it's not going up the side of the device again. Start down here across the bottom. Make sure you pull it nice and taut as we put this in here. Now this piece is just a little bit short, which I will cover up as well. We want to make sure we don't leave any gaps in adhesive area on the device. And that autofocus is really wigging out. Make sure I get this the correct length. Trim off the excess here. Just making sure that it's nice and stuck to the device. Take my finger, just run down it. Make sure that it's stuck on there nice. Seems like the corners are always the tricky parts on this tape as you start to try to peel it off. Sometimes the corners will come up. Go ahead and take our time when we're doing this top portion. We'll have to kind of finagle the tape in a few different ways. We'll use the thicker tape here for the top portion. See if we can fit it in with that, and still being able to put that metal piece in for the webcam here. Looks like it will work properly for us. Just double check. We may have to cut out just a little bit of the tape here. Let's use our X-Acto knife to do so. Making sure we line up the holes correctly. And we'll just kind of score it a little bit so we know exactly where we need to put in and cut all this out. Being nice and gentle to cut this tape out. Make sure your blade is nice and sharp. If not, you can cut this to fit before you put the tape on. Or just use a little bit thinner tape in just this area. Go ahead and just pull it out. Take a little bit of the thinner adhesive tape and go ahead and run it down the bottom portion of the device here. Make sure you get that proper adhesion all the way through the glass. We're going to kind of skip the camera portion here on just this side. Being very gentle, making sure that it's not touching the glass at all. Start back here with the thicker tape for the top portion. We'll go ahead and cut this to fit. There's no circuitry or boards or wires running under this side, so let's go ahead and use that same thick tape for this side as well. Perfect. Little tiny thin piece of tape here. Make sure that we get that full adhesion that I was talking about. Not the end of the world if you don't put that in there, but I like to be on the safe side. Make sure that little metal ring still fits in there for the webcam, which it does. Go ahead and just pull it out. Next step is just go around and go ahead and remove all of the paper backing of the adhesive tape. Use a pair of pliers, your finger, or the knife to go ahead and lift up the edges and pull it. Now as you do this, you want to make sure you go a little bit slower. You definitely don't want to make the tape lift in any places. You don't want any ridges or anything like that. If you pull it off extremely fast, like a band-aid, it will do so in some cases. So just take your time as you do it. Go around the sides, making sure that there's no ripples, no bumps. If there is, if you see something that you think that might make the glass stand off the frame, you're going to take your time, cut it out, and then put in a new piece of tape. Be much easier to catch it now than to do it later. Now the reason why I'm showing the adhesive portion of this is because a lot of glass that I've seen out there doesn't come with adhesive applied. You get both sets of types out there. You get the ones with adhesive, the ones without. If you're actually just changing out your LCD and your glass is good, then you don't technically need to buy new glass. So you'd have to use the adhesive again or apply this adhesive on here. I'd use a fresh coat of adhesive. So this will be just a good video to watch if you're looking at how to apply that as well. Making sure that I cut this tape just perfect for us. Remove any of the little tiny bits of paper here. Almost finished. If you want to see the glass being applied, go ahead and search for the same exact title with glass application or glass in the title. I'll go ahead and pull that video up for you. I'll try to put it in the link. I'm not sure that I'll get to it exactly today, but if you do search in the description, you should be able to find a link to it as well. Make sure you clean your glass off nice, or your LCD nice and well before you put the glass on. As always, thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.